Hello? This is a microphone check. Thank you. Guess I should mute this one. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So, welcome to my SAT course. The time is 6:59. This is a trial run. I just want to make sure that I can go through this procedure, do a cloud recording, and then I'll upload it to YouTube as a sample of what I can offer for a donation course. This is my actual course that goes for um, between $1,500 to $2,000 at tutoring houses here in New York, and that I'm promoting as my own course that I've been developing for over 10 years. Um, again, I'm going to wait about 5 minutes, see if anyone joins a little bit late. So we're going to start at 7:05. I'm going to start a timer now. I do like to start on time, but because this is going to be a cloud recording, and I'm going to share it on YouTube, I'm going to give 5 minutes grace time for any folks who caught the ads that I put on social media and would like to have some SAT training for an actual exam, that they can join this free SAT tutoring course online that's being offered by donation by me, an instructor who is actually gets paid for a living to train students to get higher scores on the SAT exam. So again, I'm setting my timer now for to allow other folks to arrive. Just as an introduction, as I give this 5 minutes of grace time, I did graduate from Columbia University Teachers College with a Master's of Arts in Mathematics Education in 2012. I did my student teaching and undergrad work with the City University of New York, at various schools here in Manhattan. When I was finally placed as a teacher in 2007, I was at a high school here in Manhattan. It was a very difficult school, and I only lasted there for 1 year. I was transferred out of the school as a classroom teacher to the Bronx and given a new role as a SAVE teacher. Seemed that I was better matched to be a teacher who had his own office, that if students were arguing or were absent, I could coordinate catch-up work and give textbooks and support workbooks for students instead. So I worked at a middle school there for 2 years. I also taught in Catholic school. I graded regents for New York State. I was trained as a Galaxy administrator for the city of New York, where I coordinated during those 2 years up at MS 212 at 800 Home Street in the Bronx. I also coordinated and wrote all the report cards and coordinated all the report card data from the teachers at the middle school grades 5 to 8. Since October 2014, I have been the curriculum developer and instructor of the SHSAT math class and SAT math course at Chang Learning Center in Brooklyn, New York at 1663 Bath Avenue. Year after year, I evolved the curriculum and realigned it and updated it. And as of last summer, we had very good success. It's very difficult with COVID, but more and more students returned, and we even had several students on the practice tests consistently getting over 1,400. We have a student who earned a 1,500 plus score, combined math and ELA, and all 18 students performed with a combined super score of over 500 for both sections, which is really the goal at a tutoring house. Most colleges around the nation, as you know, they're interested in students who can get to the 50th percentile, which is a 500 score in math and a 500 score in ELA on the SAT standardized test. So if you're going to include it in your portfolio, it's great to align yourself with the tutoring house that can help you reach that goal, even if you have a lot of difficulty with standardized tests, which are timed exams, and are having trouble getting organized for these, for example, on this test, 58 math questions. So again, thank you for joining me tonight for this online SAT course. If you can, the recommended donation per lesson is a modest $50. If you compare that with any online tutoring course, they're at least double, triple that cost for a 22 or 28 lesson course like I've written here. Tonight, we'll go over just an introduction to the exam itself. And if you haven't taken an SAT exam before, we'll have a sample of 5 questions. And then the first of the 22 lessons that I'll be presenting for free online, which will be lesson number 1, with a few model problems and then a classwork worksheet that you two can try at home. And I'll put the links in the chat window. So just maybe 30 more seconds, and then I will be sure to get started here with tonight's presentation for you. And if you watch this later, the links will still be active. You'll see here for the quiz, classwork, and homework, which I will add to the chat window as we work. If you're watching this video live or as a recording on YouTube, you can use the links at the end of the video to access the practice quiz. Again, I'm offering this for free by donation. The classwork of 25 practice questions, range easy, mid to challenge level, as well as the homework, which we'll go over in the next session. All right, so let's get started tonight. And this is JW2542 Tutoring. This is my tutoring company. And this is the SAT math course. If you would like to pause the video now and use the QR code for Venmo, you can donate to the class, anything from $1 to $1,000, anything that you would like to support the development of a good prep course for the SAT math sections. Just as an overview, this is one of the pages from the lesson that is used at one tutoring house, for example, here in Brooklyn at Chang Learning. And SAT lesson number 1, here's an overview of the SAT exam. For those who are interested in pursuing higher education, the SAT is still considered to be the benchmark exam as a metric for student academic progress. In the past few years, the number of seniors taking the SAT in the United States has increased from 1 to over 1.7 million. The mathematics question on the SAT are contained in 2 sections. So after doing the ELA sections of reading and writing, you will then go to section 3, which is 20 questions and 25 minutes with no calculator allowed. And the section contains 15 multiple choice questions and 5 grid-in questions. For section 4, it contains 38 questions and you'll have 55 minutes total time. And a graphing calculator is allowed. I certainly recommend the TI-84 plus CE, but any of the TI-84 graphing calculators are worth it. I know that it's an investment of between $100 to $200. If that's too much for you, please go to your math department at your school. Often a teacher can loan you if you fill out a form, can loan you a graphing calculator for standardized tests like this. or has set in-house either for a class or can make arrangements so that you can train and prepare for your SAT with a graphing calculator. This section has 30 multiple choice questions and 8 grid-ins for a total of 58 questions in the SAT math section. Notice in the breakdown below on this same page that according to more sources, the SAT contains approximately these percentages of questions. If you look at algebra with subtopics of linear equations, systems of equations, and linear inequalities, that's about 40% of section 3 and 30% of section 4. Problems in problem solving and data analysis, such as ratios and proportions, representing quantitative data and probability, are all contained in section 4, but it's about 45% of section 4. So the charts and graphs, for example, or probability problems are very, very rarely among the 20 questions in section 3. So you should see those in section 4. Passport to advanced mathematics, such as equivalent algebraic expressions and quadratic and nonlinear functions, which include functions like absolute value functions, exponential functions, logarithmic functions, and other systems of equations and inequalities. It's 45% of section 3 and 15% of section 4. And finally, geometry, surprisingly on the SAT, about area and volume is about 15%, polygons and circles, again, total 15% in section 3 and 10% in section 4. So of the college entrance exam tests, that standardized tests that can be included in your college portfolio as a high school student, well, the SAT has very little geometry relative to, say, the ACT exam, which is more like a third, 30 to 40% geometry compared to the SAT, which is 30 to 40% algebra problems. So often in engineering or architecture or a computer science department might want you to take an ACT that has more geometry and coordinate plane problems as well. If you look here on this next slide, you can see that I designed the course at the Chang Learning Center with 28 modular lessons, like a checklist. And these change year to year, but here was the list of classes from 2020 to 2021. And it begins with algebra problems, linear and quadratic problems, how to factor, how to use the quadratic formula, then other functions. Then it goes to the coordinate plane with transformations, angle relationships, Pythagorean theorem, and geometry in 2 and 3 dimensions. And it ends with charts and graphs and probability and statistics. So this 28 lesson course that I personally wrote, that's evolved over the years to be a collection of 50 problems, 25 classwork, and 25 homework. So that's 1,400 SAT problems that you too can use as you get ready to master your mathematics for the SAT exam. Then, if you're having trouble when you look at your grades, say that you're having trouble with angle relationships, lesson 16, it can provide for you more worksheets to either with the online course, with the worksheet library that we have, say tutoring houses, or we can just go back to the textbook itself and see why those chapters were difficult for you. Say it's angle relationships, or say you're having trouble with complex numbers. We can then do some worksheets to focus on where you're losing the SAT points and not getting the higher score that you would like to achieve. Another thing to know about the SAT is that test questions are a combination of, yes, algebraic expressions, equations, word problems, and graphs, but each section in math follows a more or less easy to hard level of difficulty. In other words, the multiple choice questions and grid-in questions are grouped from easy to hard, here ranked from 1 to 5. So There's a good beginner strategy if you're getting ready for the SAT, where you can try 37 of the 58 questions, but know that they're easier level math questions. This training strategy is a time saver. So if you're a student that's having trouble completing section 3 in 25 minutes and section 4 in 55 minutes, well, do these 37 problems. And we found over 96% rate with my class for students who would like to get a score of above 500. So if you're struggling with a score between 300 and 500, and you like to get a higher score, you can budget your time by targeting these easier questions. Here's the map of the easier questions. In section 3, the first 15 questions are grid in, but it's loosely arranged that the first block of 5 are easy level, the second are mid-level multi-step problems, and the most difficult questions are the third 5 questions, questions 11 to 15. So a good strategy is to do the first 10 problems, skip over the challenge block, and then complete any grid-ins that are easy for you. Here, that would probably be this question ranked 1, and this question ranked 1, questions 16 and 17. Then go check the time. Say you have 11 minutes left. Then go back to question 11 and try that challenge block last. The reason that you want to do this is it will reduce your test anxiety. You'll be more relaxed. You'll be like, okay, I think I got 8 out of 10 of these. Take a deep breath, go do any grid-ins that are easy. Now you've got half of the questions correct already. And then with the remaining time, you can work on those tough challenge questions. Similarly, in section 4, it's 30 multiple choice, but the first 20 are easy and mid-level. Questions ranked 1 to 3 mostly in this section. Notice there are a few exceptions. Question 15 is ranked number 4, and question 20 is ranked 5 in difficulty. But most of the 4 and 5 level questions are here, questions 21 to 30. So try and get all 20 of these correct. Then skip over the questions 21 to 30 and try any questions that are easy for you in the grid-in. Check the time. Say you have 22 minutes left. Then you can spend those last 22 minutes on the most difficult problems, questions 21 to 30. Then going back to the previous slide, we found that with this strategy of doing the easy and mid-level questions in section 3 and section 4 first, and then using the remainder of your block time for the other questions, has led to a very high success rate of at least a 500 score in math. This is a breakdown called the normal curve of tests like this that is standardized, meaning that after the over 1 million data points of students taking the test complete are finished, then they assign the mean value of 500 score, meaning of all of the tests, all the test data points, the average score is given a 500. And then plus 1 question will be about a 510. They're about 10 points each, up to, say, a perfect score, which when it's scaled, would be an 800, meaning you got 58 out of 58. So you can see that for the SAT, the lowest score that they give out when the exam is completed and attempted is a 200 at the low end, 3 standard deviations below, and an 800 is 3 standard deviations above. These percentage blocks add up to 50% to the left of the mean or average and 50% to the right. So you can see here, for example, if this is the 50th percentile, getting a 600 score means that you scored higher than 50 plus 34, 84% of the test takers. Getting a 700 score means that you performed higher than 98% of the test takers, etc. So most colleges are looking for students who can perform on a standardized test to the right of this middle bar in the upper half. I even recommended this summer for students who were again, English language learners. I said, well, if you're going to get an 800 score on the SAT, just don't put it in your college portfolio. For most colleges, it is optional now. So you choose whether or not to put a standardized test. If you're having trouble with the SAT and you're not getting a score of at least 1,000, you might want to consider taking the ACT or or any other equivalency exam as you get ready for college. But why include a score that's very, very low on a standardized test? If you're having trouble with time management or you are an English language learner, you include that in your life story as you get ready to enter into a college level program. So focusing today on the beginning of this overview and on the first topics of the first 10 lessons on algebra, you see that the basic skills you need for the SAT are to know PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract, linear and quadratic word problems, linear equations of the form y equals mx plus b, with m being the slope and b being the y-intercept. Having skills on adding and subtracting two equations or systems of shortcuts for algebra problems are very useful for these problem sets. If you enroll in a course such as mine, you can see that we do have examples that review the strategies and skills you need to brush up on if you're getting ready to take a full SAT exam. PEMDAS examples are given, as well as here in example 2, you can see that a proportion is given in the problem and you have to solve for x and use the skill called cross multiplying. So you cross the diagonals and they're equal for equivalent fractions. So working with either a tutoring house or an organized book such as mine is very, very good for increasing your scores because you can focus on the skills that are part of those 58 question sets. Here's some examples of how working with a tutoring house or with a tutoring program can help you get the correct answer on SAT questions. So here's some sample SAT questions. For question number 11, we have, if 5x plus 6 equals 10, what is the value of 10x plus 3? You can see the four choices, 4, 9, 11, and 20. And I'll pause for a moment, and you can pause this video if you're watching the recording and see if you can solve this problem. What would be the value of the expression 10x plus 3? Well, in solving for x, we have more than one way to solve it. Some students say, well, yeah, you want to isolate the variable. You can subtract 6, divide by 5, then you get the value of x, and times that by 10 and add 3. But there are some shortcuts that students have shared over the years, and I'd like to share two of them that show you the way an SAT student who gets a higher score can organize a problem like this. For solution number 1, the student said, well, let's subtract 6 from both sides. Then 5x is 4. But noting that 10x is the element we want for the term, double both sides, so 10x is 8. Then 8 plus 3 is 11, and the correct answer is C. So the student found what the value was for 5x and doubled both sides, and that was the shortcut. Student number 2 looked at the equation and saw it was 5x plus 6, but we wanted to say 10x. So they doubled the entire equation and wrote down 10x plus 12 equals 10 times 2 or 20. Then, since that's 10x plus 12, subtracted 9 from both sides and got that 10x plus 3 is precisely 11. So that was the shortcut they used to find the correct answer, C. Notice that both of these solutions use the idea of the element here. Let me highlight my highlighter out here. Of 5x being transformed into scaled up into 10x. And although they did it in different steps in their solution, they certainly used that as a time saver. By not dividing both sides by 5 and getting that x equals 4/5 and working with fractions, they saved about 30 seconds to a minute of test time, both student number 1 and student number 2. That's a very important skill for standardized tests, is working with speed and accuracy. For the next example, if k is greater than 0 and x equals 7 in the equation below, what is the value of k? And you have to be able to work with the system of algebra if you're going to take the SAT. In this solution, I wrote RT for the square root. We're given that x is 7. So if you plug in 7 and add x to both sides, we have, adding 7 to both sides, the square root of 2k squared plus 17 equals 7. Again, I'll use the annotator just to make sure you can follow along. Excuse me. That expression is under the radical sign. That's what the RT means, is the square root. So this block, the square root, is now equal to 7 because that's what x is. When we square both sides, whatever was underneath the radical sign is now equal to 49. Okay, subtract 17 both sides, divide by 2, and k squared is now isolated as 16. Square root both sides, and k equals 4. Because k is greater than 0, we found the principal root, and the correct answer was choice C, 4. So, again, knowing how to rebalance with algebra, you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide both sides, but also you can square or square root both sides. Just be careful with the extraneous roots, positive and negative values of squares and square roots. For the third example, we're going to use estimation. This one reads, the Borealis Lighting Company sells special bulbs that last for many years. However, each bulb costs $99 plus a tax of 8.25%. What is the cost of 6 of these bulbs? Rounded to the nearest dime. Well, instead of computing with paper 99 times 1.0825, it's faster to do rounded to $100. And then the tax will be exactly $8.25 per light bulb. 6 times that is 648 plus 6 quarters, or $649.50. Noting that that's an overestimate, we can now eliminate choices B, C, and D because that's an overestimate. In other words, just be careful when you estimate. This is an overestimate. So all of these values, 649 or higher, can be eliminated. And we get the correct answer is choice A. So there's a great example of seeing how you can to solve the problem using rounding and then estimating the cost for 6 light bulbs. The next thing I'd like to do at this time is introduce you to how we structure our workshop lessons at Chang Learning. It is a classroom model. So we start with do now or warm-up activity. And here we've chosen to do 5-question quizzes. And I've evolved these again also over the past 9 years. And from our hundreds of questions from actual SATs and tutoring books, as well as hundreds of questions that I personally have written for the tutoring house, we choose 2 easy level, 2 mid-level, and 1 challenge level problem for you to try and as a practice warm-up to get your mind on the math with word problems, linears and quadratics, and charts and graphs. Okay, the questions that are always contained on SAT exams. So what I'd like to do now is, and I'll put it in chat window, is for you to try SAT quiz number 1. And here's the link to SAT quiz number 1. I'm putting it now in the chat window. All right, I don't know if you can see the overlay of the chat. You cannot, but here comes the link for quiz number 1. All right, so I placed it in the chat window. You can see the Google form. And what I'll do now is I'll put on my stopwatch for 10 minutes and I'll mute myself so that you guys can practice this quiz number 1. Due to the fact that we're online and you might be watching a recording, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the end where you can see that this is the first form link. You can cut and paste this form link, which I'll leave active, for lesson number 1, and you now have 10 minutes for this practice quiz. So I'll start the timer now, and I'll mute myself, and I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. So good luck if you're participating on SAT quiz number 1. Okay, just 5 more minutes on SAT quiz number one. 5 more minutes, and then we'll review the quiz and go on to today's classwork. 5 more minutes. Okay, so that was 10 minutes to practice SAT quiz number one, which I put in the chat window. I'm going to scroll back to the review here for this SAT class sample quiz and going over the problems one at a time quickly. For question number 1, easy level, it reads, before we do that, a quick announcement. The Google Forms have a bubble sheet at the bottom. So if at the end of the 10 minutes, make sure that you bubble in your final answer choices in the bottom of the form. Click the blue submit button, and then the computer form will auto grade it for you so that you should get a score immediately and from my school computer here. And then we can review them together, any of the problems that were incorrect. If you're watching this recording, I'm going to record step-by-step all 5 of the questions for you. So here we go. So for the first question number 1, easy level, it reads, if x minus 1 over 3 equals k and k equals 3, then what's the value of x? Well, the first thing we'll do is we're going to plug in 3 for k equals 3. Then we have x minus 1 over 3 equals 3. Multiply both sides by 3, not by 9, I should say by 3. Then we'll have x minus 1 equals 9. Add 1 to both sides, and x is precisely 10. Correct answer was D for number 1, D. Question 2. A swimming class for tots costs $15 per hour. If a family enrolls the 2 children for 3 hours per week for 10 weeks, how much will it cost to teach 2 children in their family to swim? Well, just be careful when you scale up these costs because 2 children will be participating in the swimming class. Since it's 3 hours per week for 10 weeks, that will be 30 hours of swimming lessons per child. Times 2 is 60 hours total, times $15 per hour. And here I use 60 divided by 2 is 30 and doubled the right side. 15 times 2 is 30. So that's equivalent to 30 times 30 or 900. Just write that down here for you guys. I just used a little shortcut. This side divided by times a half and this side times 2 will get you an equivalent so half for that factor and double for the factor on the right means that you have 2 new factors but with the same total value. In other words, 60 times 15 is the same as 30 times 30. It would cost $900, and the correct answer was A. Question 3, mid-level. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? And here we have some type of polynomial. We have a trinomial minus another trinomial. And this is a group-like terms problem. Should immediately think of that. So here you have x squared y minus 3y squared plus 5xy. And what I'll do is I'll call those terms type 1, type 2, and type 3. And then we're subtracting negative x squared y plus 3xy squared minus 3y squared. So it's type 1, type 2, and type 3, but they're in a different order. The first one's the same, but the second and third have been commuted. So distributing the negative, we have plus x squared y plus 3y squared, that's the type 2, which was in third position, minus 3xy squared. Now we're ready to add and subtract. So set up columns. 1 of these plus 1 of these is 2 of these. Well, we're counting 2 x squared y's. Minus 3 plus 3 is they cancel each other out. That adds up to 0. And then 5 minus 3, we have 2 of these things. Well, that was xy squared. So 2xy squared. So the correct answer was 2x squared y's plus 2xy squared using group-like terms. Be very careful with the positive and negative changes when you're doing group-like terms problems with subtraction. Question 4. What is the solution xy to the system of equations below? Here we have 2y plus 1 equals negative 5x, and 2y minus 1x is negative 19. Well, they're not both in standard form. They're not in slope-intercept form. So the first thing we'll do is we'll rewrite them so they're in standard form. I chose to do here. So add 5x to both sides and subtract 1, and we'll rewrite equation 1 as 5x plus 2y equals -1. For equation number 2, well, switch the x and y so they're in alphabetical order, and we have -1x plus 2y is -19. Now, notice that we can take equation 2 and subtract it from equation 1. 5x minus 1x is 5x plus 1x is 6x. And 2y minus 2y, they cancel. -1 plus 19 is 18. Therefore, 6x is 18 and x equals 3. And we use the elimination method. Here, I'll highlight it here. Here, this minus this will eliminate the y terms. You can cross them off because we're subtracting equation 1 from equation 2. Okay, well, now that we've rewritten them into a standard form. So that's equation 1 minus equation 2, and x is 3. Look at the answer choices. There's only one answer choice where x is 3, and that's B. None of the other answer choices have an x value of 3, so you can also save test time knowing that it has to be choice B. Now is question 4. Last one. Question 5 tonight was the challenge level problem. If 5 root 2 is a and 2a is the square root of 2x, what is the value of x? Well, here I wrote out that, well, you can multiply both sides by 2. Therefore, 2a is 5 times 2, or 10 square root 2's. But we're going to rewrite 10 back as the square root of 100. And then we can use the rule that the square root of a times the square root of b is the square root of ab. So we can make it one giant square root. Therefore, 2a is the same as 2 times 100. So the correct answer was 100. Most of the students got this wrong put 10. Correct, 10, it is 10 root 2's, but we have to put it back under the radical sign. So you have to square that when we substitute it back in as a square root. Okay, that was tricky challenge problem number 5, testing your knowledge of writing square roots and perfect squares properly. Okay. Let's move on. The next thing we have in the course is we have a classwork set. And if you go down to the last page here, the last slide in our carousel, you can see this blue form link. I'm going to click on it and see what happens. And it does, look at that. It'll open up to a new Google form. Should have done that with the quiz. And here, I think I can make it a little larger. You enter your email address and your name, and you'll see 25 practice questions. And they're loosely arranged as 5 easy level, 5 more easy level word problems, then mid-level, and the hardest problems are 16 to 20, and then a review with easy, mid, and challenge level problems. Okay, so all of my course is arranged as a modular class, 25 classwork problems, range easy to challenge level, as well as 5 grid-in questions. And the homework is arranged that way as well. In the interest of time, because it's already 7:47, and this class will only run 90 minutes, what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you 20 minutes independent practice. That's tradition here. And then we'll spend the last 20 minutes of class going over a few challenge problems, which I'll select for us to go over tonight. So again, because this is an online class, I will put the form link in the chat window if you're participating online. But because you'll be watching a video, I'm going back to the slideshow here. So hopefully we can do that. And wait, am I not on full screen? And that will be the second link. And I'll give you guys 20 minutes of independent practice. So since this is an online run through of the lesson and you're watching a recording, I'm going to just leave this on here and mute myself and my video and set my stopwatch for 20 minutes for you guys to have independent practice on these 25 questions. Okay, you can skip around. You can skip the easy level ones, or if you want, you can focus on the easy level ones for 20 minutes. You can try the mid level or the challenge or the grid ins. But after 20 minutes, we'll stop and go over problems that students select. Okay. If you don't have problems to select tonight of the 25 as you peruse through the lesson in this practice, independent practice, then I will choose a few for us to wrap up tonight for this 90-minute session. All right, so anyway, good luck. I'm going to start the stopwatch now for 20 minutes, and please begin. And I will see you all in 20 minutes. Please type in chat window if there's anything I can do for you to help you set up for the problems at hand here. All right, good luck. See you in 20 minutes. So 2 more minutes, and then we will go over the practice problems from a few select ones anyway. All right. Are the meeting controls? Where's my video? Okay. So I should still be live here. Where's the where's the viewer? No, I'm still screen sharing. No, I'm good. And now I wanted to go to the slideshow. Okay. So we're gonna wrap up. I'm just gonna go over a few select problems here. Let's start with ones that are a little different. Question number 9. All right, question number 9 is also something from mid-level, going over our idea of factors that are the same. So here for this one, you can see that we have, we're multiplying. So you can look at them as factor blocks. There's 8 minus a, 8 plus a. Here we can left factor. And here we have, we don't have 8 plus or minus a, but we have it in reverse. So be careful with this one. What we're going to do is with this one in place, we're going to take out a negative sign. And then for this one that was given, we're going to factor out the number 4. So what I'll do is I'll write it down here as fraction blocks, but we'll make one giant fraction, and I'll put those orange blocks in factored form. And then for that blue one, I'll factor out a negative sign, so we'll have double negative or a positive. So here we go. So the first factor up here is still 8 minus a, and I'll use yellow chalk so that we can see it on the screen. And then the second factor is still 8 plus a. And then here, it looks like we can left factor a 3. And then we'll have 5a plus 4. And then for the denominator, well, the first factor, we can factor out a 4. And we'll have 5a plus 4. Here, we'll have a negative times a negative, so that'll be a positive. And then we'll have 8 minus a. So now we're looking for factors that are exactly the same. And here we have x minus a in the denominator and in the numerator. And we also have 5a plus 4 over here and 5a plus 4 over here. So those ones can be crossed off because they're the same in the numerator and in the denominator. Then whatever survived the cancellation process, that will be our new numerator and denominator when we multiply them together. So here we go. Then what survived? We have 3 times 8 plus a, the numerator, and the denominator, we simply have 4. The other factors were canceled. So the correct answer is 3 times 8 plus a over 4, or C for problem number 9. So if you found C for question number 9, that was correct. Next is, again, introduction. This lesson is an introduction to all the basic topics in algebra that will be on the exam. So what we'll do next is we'll go to question number 10, which is function compositions. So let's see this one here. All right, so here we have 2 function maps. The first thing we have to do is we have to find a g of 7, because it's f of g of 7. So the first thing we'll do is we'll find g of 7, and then we'll take that result, whatever that is, and then we'll do f of whatever that result is. So here we go. Rule G says take whatever number is given and add 1 to it. So g of 7 is equal to 7 plus 1 is 8. So now we have the number 8. We're going to bring that to rule F. We're going to now find f of 8. Well, you square it, you get 64, plus 8 is 72, minus 12 gives us 60. And the correct answer is C. I know it's confusing, so let's see what's going on here. We have to do rule G first, which was the x plus 1 rule. That brings us to 8. Then we have to follow the first rule, which is the trinomial rule. So now we're plugging in 8 into the trinomial, and following rule F, that maps us to the value 60. The correct answer was C, 60, for question number 10. A couple of more problems. Please just type in chat if there's a problem that you would like to go over tonight. Let's look at question number 14, which uses the idea of reciprocal as a shortcut. Okay, so we're given that a over b equals 2. But I'm going to write that as a over b equals 2 upon 1. But we want the value of 4b upon a. Well, what we can do is we can flip both sides, like so, and rewrite it as b over a must be a half. We can take that and use that instead. So then we'll have 4 times a half. which is 4 divided by 2, or 2. So for this shortcut, putting the reciprocal in place instead makes the problem a lot easier. And the correct answer was 2. Other students said, well, I just said let A equal 2 and B equal 1. And then I just moved it into place into the new expression. And that's fine as well. Other students said, well, I made A 10 and B 5. Yes, you can plug in values for A and B. Just remember that they're being A will now go into the denominator and B will go into the numerator. Okay, so you can do that as well if you use plug-in method. All right, question number 14. Okay, maybe last one for tonight, so we can do a wrap up tonight for this 90-minute presentation. Let's try system of equations, because there are always several questions on the SAT that are systems of equations. And let's go to McCoy Max Speed Skateboarding. So reading question number 7, we have McCoy Max Speed Incorporated makes custom skateboards for its customers. 2 wooden skateboards and 3 composite skateboards cost $650 at the store. 3 wooden skateboards and 1 composite skateboard cost $450. How much would McCoy Max Speed charge a customer who purchases 5 wooden skateboards and 4 composite skateboards? Well, in order to make sense of this problem, let's set up the system of equations. Here's customer number 1, or order number 1, and here's order number 2. And we'll do the wooden skateboards first. So 2 wooden skateboards plus 3 composite skateboards in the shopping cart at the store, that'd be $650. That's order number 1. Another, say, team captain comes in and says, wait, I'm going to order 3 wooden skateboards for the team and 1 composite skateboard. The store says, okay, that costs $450. So the question was, what is the cost for a different order? And that order was 5 wooden skateboards and 4 composite skateboards. So look for the SAT shortcuts for systems of equations. And you too can solve this and save your test time on this time test. Here, you have order number 1 and order number 2, and I'll put them as 2 like different shopping carts. Here, this is order number 1, and that's the cost. This is order number 2 in shopping cart number 2, and that's the cost. But what happens if, like, say these 2 different team captains teamed up? They're like, well, let's do an order together. 2 plus 3 is 5 wooden skateboards, and 3 plus 1 is 4 composite skateboards. So the shortcut is the total must be the sum of those 2 orders. And they just make one giant order. And that would be $650 plus $450, or $1,100 total. So the SAT shortcut was add equation number 1 and equation number 2. And the correct answer was D. So notice what I'm saying here. They set up a system of equations, and the SAT writer is rewarding you if you can set up these equations in standard form. Notice that if you then combine them by addition or subtraction, here we're using addition, that you have saved 3 to 4 minutes while other students are scribbling away and solving for the exact value for a wooden and a composite skateboard. So this really is a time saver. I don't know why I wrote 1,000 when it's 1,100, by the way. So we fix that. The correct answer was D. All right. So this lesson was designed as an introduction to the variety of problems that you will encounter on the SAT exam in algebra. And it includes the PEMDAS problems with the exponents, with square roots, and with other radicals and irrationals, as well as these word problems and systems of equations. So it's very good to get organized for a test like this because it really does help you when you encounter the exam. At least 90 to 95% of the problems are problems that you've already done on the practice worksheets. So in conclusion tonight, thank you so much for joining me here on Zoom for my presentation of, this is one of the 22 lessons on the SAT class. And what I'd like to also do for you now is introduce you to my test prep tutoring Wix site, if you'd like to learn more about me and some of the praise that I've gotten from parents around the country that I've worked with. I've prepared students for standardized tests, including the SHSAT, SAT, the tests for Catholic schools, the cooperative, the high school placement test, all Regents levels, AP exams in statistics and calculus, and have helped students achieve their scholarships for half and quarter scholarships for Catholic schools, as well as full scholarships, as well as acceptance letters into SHSAT schools. I myself went to Bronx Science, but also Brooklyn Tech and Stuyvesant, as well as the other specialized high schools, as well as acceptances into college programs and graduate school programs, such as nursing and engineering. You can see all that on my website. So if you'd like me as a personal tutor, I still do personal tutor work by Zoom or in person here in New York City area. I've been doing this for over 15 years. So thank you for joining me here tonight on this free SAT course. Again, I'm using this for development and also for personal reflection and to update the course. It's doing very well, and I'm going to have it copyrighted and continue to sell it to tutoring houses here in Brooklyn. But as a way of also giving back to the community, I personally grew up in a very poor neighborhood in affordable housing, and it will be a free resource on my YouTube channel, which, in case you don't know that about me, I took my money as a street performer and decided to complete college. I didn't feel like I was growing as a performer or an artist, so instead decided to complete my college degrees and become a math teacher. So I've been a teacher and tutor for the past 15 years, but it did come from the generous donations of literally hundreds of thousands of people over the years when I street performed for 20 years. So thank you for making this possible. And now it's another way of me giving back is by sharing the course for free on my YouTube channel. Well, how do you access the course for free? Again, it'll be donations, just like a street performer. You can go to these links. These links I will leave active for you. So if I see folks logging in and trying my quiz number 1, remember that's recommended 10 minutes. Classwork number 1, which again, homeworks, we don't have that much time. Usually we do odd or even problems, for example. We have a 20-minute practice. So you can do 12 or to 15 questions, or we pick 15 questions. And then for the homework, I recommend a 60-minute sit down so you can try the 25 questions of varying difficulties. But that's about the amount of time that you need to get ready for this exam if you go through a course with like a checklist like mine. So that's it for lesson number 1. Again, I'm posting this on my YouTube channel in case you missed it. And here are the links. If you have any questions, you can also email me at jsmw2542@gmail.com. The next class online, I'm going to do this all year, will be September 19th at 7 p.m. Again, I'll post these links from my personal Columbia Drive. I'll post it on my YouTube channel, and you can access these at any time. You can also email me at jsmw2542@gmail.com, and I will personally respond to you if you're like, hey, I didn't get question number 13 or question number 43, or I don't understand why my method is wrong. I don't know what the next step is, and I'll send you a kind email. Again, I'm offering this for free, but if you donate anything from $1 to $1,000, I do recommend, and you can shop around, try the other tutoring courses. If you would like to donate $50 per lesson as you use them, you can, which is recommended. You can find me, Joshua Wiener, as Joshua Wiener 10 on Venmo. You can also use the QR code that is here on this QR slide. So thanks again. This is me sharing with you the course that I've been developing for 10 years online, and you will find it on my YouTube channel, JW2542 Tutoring, as I continue to work. This is how I make the majority of my income now. And you can see on my channel that occasionally, but I mean, it's gone from 200 days a year street performing to less than 10. I do go out back into the public, into the park, and since I'm still able to juggle at my age, and do shows for tips as well, or play the piano in the park for tips. It's something that I still do enjoy in my life. I do enjoy doing, but not with the intensity that I was doing it to make a living and survive in my hometown, New York. So thanks for checking me out here on Zoom. Again, I have to work on my power of advertising and doing mailings and figuring out how to reach more people to monetize this. But here it is. This is my SAT math course, which you will find here on YouTube. And this is it for tonight. Thanks again for checking me out, and good night from New York City. This is Josh Wiener saying thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this content.